What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Loreverse. Now, this Sunday, we return to Westeros, but don't expect dragons burning cities or thrones being shattered by ice demons. We're going back to something smaller, something quieter, and in many ways, something much more dangerous, a Night of Seven Kingdoms. This is set roughly 90 years before the events of Game of Thrones and about 70 years after the final House of the Dragon, after the finale of House of the Dragon. And this story isn't about the high-stakes politics of King's Landing, it's about the street level of Westeros. It's about the hedge knight, men who have a sword, a horse, and a shield, but no land to call their own. But before Dunk and Egg ride onto your screen, you need to understand the world they're entering. This isn't the stable kingdom of Joffrey or even the dragon-backed empire of Viserys. This is a world shaped by a dynasty that is quietly but surely beginning to rot from the inside. And today we are breaking down the essential lore from the unworthy king who broke the world to the legendary bastard who stole a sword, and why this small story is actually the most important chapter in the fall of House Targaryen. Now, let's dive into this lore. It's your boy Stevie, and let's dig into this. Now, let's talk about Aegon the Conqueror and the birth of Westeros. Now, to understand Dunk and Egg, you have to understand the ghost they are living under, which is Aegon the Conqueror. Before Aegon, Westeros was a mess of 7 separate bickering kingdoms. Aegon changed that with fire and blood, but more importantly, he changed it with a dream. As we saw in the House of the Dragon, Aegon's conquest was moved by the Song of Ice and Fire, the idea that a Targaryen must sit the throne to unite the realm against darkness. And the reality is, in regards to the Iron Throne, it wasn't built for comfort, it was built from the swords of the defeated. And also, there's a myth of invincibility here. For about 150 years, the Targaryens were seen as gods because they had dragons. But by the time our story starts, that myth is dead. The Iron Throne is still there, but the gods who sit on it are starting to look very, very human. And the swords in that chair are getting rusty. And the people are starting to remember what it was like to be free. Now, this is the most critical piece of lore on this show, and it is that the dragons are gone. The Dance of the Dragons, the brutal civil war between Rhaenyra and Aegon II, it effectively wiped out the Targaryen nuclear deterrent. So by the time Dunk and Egg are traveling the King's Road, Targaryens are just people with silver hair. They are no longer the firepower to incinerate a rebellion in a single afternoon. Also, political power is now a game of gold and steel. If a lord doesn't like the king, he doesn't have to fear a dragon dropping it from the clouds. He just has to worry about other lords. And also, the illusion is shattered. The Targaryens are ruling through tradition, not power. And tradition is a much flimsier shield. And this era is called the aftermath of collapse. And the family is still in charge, but they are paranoid, divided, and desperate to prove they are still better than the people they rule. Now, the real question is, who is King Aegon IV and why he matters, right? Because if there is a villain of this deep dive, it's King Aegon, also known as Aegon the Unworthy. Imagine the worst parts of Robert Baratheon mixed with the cruelty of Joffrey. Aegon IV was lazy, gluttonous, and incredibly spiteful, but his final act on his deathbed changed Westeros forever. He legitimized all of his freaking bastards. And this wasn't an act of love, it was an act of chaos. He created dozens of rival claims to the throne. He gave the legendary Targaryen sword, Blackfyre, to his bastard son, Daemon, rather than to his true heir, Daeron. And the symbolism here is, in Westeros, the sword is the crown. And by giving Daemon the sword of the conqueror, Aegon IV effectively told the realm the strongest should rule, not the oldest. Now, this leads us to the Blackfyre rebellions, and this is the shadow war that hangs over every episode in A Night of Seven Kingdoms. Because Daemon Blackfyre was everything a king was supposed to be: handsome, a brilliant warrior, and a wielder of the ancient Valyrian stele. Half of the realm rose up to put him on the throne against the rightful King Daeron II. And so what we see here is the realm splits. So noble houses were forced to choose, and this created blood feuds that lasted for generations. Also, we see Bloodraven versus Bitter Still. So 2 of the king's bastards led the opposing sides. We also will see Brynden Bloodraven Rivers, and this is who Game of Thrones fans will eventually know as the Three-Eyed Raven. And this is a major player in this era. He's the hand of the king, a sorcerer, and the man everyone fears. And when Dunk and Egg start their journey, the first rebellion is over, but the second is brewing, and every tavern they enter is filled with people whispering about the king over the water. So the question is, who are Dunk and Egg really? Because this is the heart of the show. So let's talk about it. So first we have Sir Duncan the Tall. Dunk is a hedge knight. He was born in the slums of Flea Bottom, served as an old knight, and knighted himself. And when the old man died, he is massive. He is thick as a castle wall, but he is the only true knight in the series. He actually believes in the vows and protecting the weak and being honorable. And Egg, this is a little bald boy who agrees to be Dunk's squire, is actually Aegon Targaryen, the youngest son of Prince Maekar. Now, the reason why he has a shaved head is because he has to hide the silver gold hair of the Targaryens so he can travel the world incognito. Also, like Egg is seeing how the small folk live. He is seeing the hunger, the injustice, and the cost of his family's wars. And this is his origin story as, Aegon the king, who would eventually try to give rights to the peasants. Now, the reason why this era is quieter but deadlier is because in Game of Thrones, the danger is a 700-foot wall of ice. In A Night of Seven Kingdoms, the danger is a tournament. In this era, the trial by seven or a jousting accident can change the fate of the dynasty. Because the Targaryens are so fractured, every small interaction matters. So in this time, honor is a liability, bro. Like Dunk's desire to do the right thing will constantly put him in the crosshairs of princes who think they're above the law. And also, we're going to see like a hedge knight struggle because you'll see the reality of armor being expensive, horses being precious, and how easy it is to starve, even if you are a quote unquote noble knights. While I'm yapping, right, telling all of this lore, some of y'all are going to ask, how does this connect to Game of Thrones? Now, this isn't just a spinoff. Number one, this is a prequel to the end. Dunk and Egg's journey leads directly to the tragedy of Summerhall, and this is a mysterious fire that wiped out much of the Targaryen family and led the birth to Rhaegar Targaryen. And the distrust, and there's like a big distrust of the throne here because the events of this show will explain why the great houses eventually stopped respecting the crown. And also, as I said, the three-eyed raven is very important because seeing Bloodraven in his prime explains how the magic of Westeros moved from the light, which is dragons, to the shadows, which is the old gods. And everything that goes wrong for Aerys the second, aka the Mad King, starts with the seeds planted during the Blackfyre rebellions. Now, the reason why this story matters is because at the end of the day, A Night of Seven Kingdoms is all about perspective. It's about what happens when the legends are over and the real work of living begins. It's about the fact that a man with no name can be more royal than a prince with a crown. And this is the human side of George R. R. Martin's world. And if you love the character-driven moments of the original series, this show is going to be your new obsession. But I want to know, what are you guys more excited for? Are you guys ready for the low fantasy vibes of Dunk and Egg, or are you still missing dragons? Let me know what you guys have to say in the comments, and I'll see you guys this Sunday as we will be breaking down this episode. Stay crispy, have a wonderful night and day, and peace out.